back, and yes, the hats are being given out tonight, and they'll be needed as the Yankees and the Orioles play the night portion of this day-night doubleheader. For the Orioles, a big win as they came away with a 9-2 victory in the opener, keeping the Yankees from securing the home field advantage for the wild card spot. We'll keep an eye on that in the Astros game that will affect that tonight. In game one, though, for the Orioles, they came up big at the top of the order as a couple of guys by the name of Machado and Parra delivered some big hits. Manny Machado is on a tear here in September. He would wallop this one, number 34. That was good for a couple of RBIs of Ivan Nova. He would follow it up with another hit of the other variety. That would also be worth an RBI. He had 3 in the ball game. Then there's Parra batting in the number 2 spot. He too would come through. He had a big 3-hit ball game. He picked up an RBI there, put a double down into the corner. That would be worth another 2 for the Orioles, and just the work of those 2 took it to the Yankees. Now the wild card coming into tonight's games, you see the Yankees with 87, Houston 85, and Los Angeles with an amazing victory earlier today. Houston owns the tiebreaker over the Yankees, so still not decided what's going on, Jim Palmer, in this American League wild card.
Yeah, so the Yankees, you know, they're going to get one of the spots, but obviously with Houston, one of the better home records, Yankees got to win this game or Houston has to lose. But what I like so much about the Oriole win, 3 in a row, we all know it's about pitching. We talked about it. Starting pitching not as good as last year. Chen pitched great. Meanwhile, you get 9 runs and 15 hits. Now it's going to be a little more difficult because Luis Severino will be pitching for the Yankees. You know, again, Ubaldo Jimenez has got 12 wins, only 6 last year, so he'd like to make it 13. So, but again, the way Severino's been pitching, and they have their kind of A lineup, I think Ubaldo better pitch well.
Interesting. Joe Girardi took a little hit between games here, but with members of the press, there was some, why did he play a B team? And that's what it was. Instead of, and not the better of his 2 pitchers, why not put them all together in game 1 and try and win it?
Well, I think really what it comes down to, you know, Beltran's going to play the second game. He's been arguably over the last, 2-3 months, one of their best players. McCann's got the most RBIs. But Beltran's a switch hitter. His best side is for what he's going to do in this game, batting left-handed. McCann, 23 of his 26 home runs, again against right-handed pitching. So I think what Joe was trying to do, get ready for Tuesday, the wild card, well, hopefully it'll be in Yankee Stadium, but also not have his guys play double headers. As it turned out, they would have had to score 10 runs to win.
Yep. I think that's fair. Little light rain falling, not supposed to affect this game. Yankees at Orioles. This is the night portion of our doubleheader. First pitch and towels coming up. Your low fare now at Southwest.com. By Royal Farms, world famous chicken and western fries, made fresh, never frozen. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms. And by Coons.com. When you're talking cars, you're talking Coons. Well, let's take a look at our BGE home game time temperature. It is 56 degrees. It is raining, and the wind is blowing in as it was in Game 1. BGE Home, Baltimore's home team for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Why would you call anyone else? And here's the starting lineup for the Yankees. Ellsbury, Dustin Ackley will get a start. Beltran's in, McCann, Bird, and Ref Snyder. Gregorius, who did not start Game 1. Heathcott and Ryan. Jacoby Ellsbury. There you see the career numbers against the Orioles.
So, Ubaldo Jimenez, you can see a lot of fastballs, and of course, for that ball to be effective, got to throw strike one with it. Also stay around the knees, kind of a swerve slider type curve ball, and then the changeup, and that's another important pitch for him because it's his strikeout ground ball pitch. That's a splitter. So the ERA, it's been a pretty good year for him. Again, right after the All-Star break, went through a pretty long stretch, actually, 7-8 starts. In 4 of them, he gave up, 24 runs, so the ERA went up. And you can see right there, he's pretty effective against both righties and lefties. And when he's on his game, if he does pitch down, he'll be able to keep the ball in the ballpark. And we do have swirling rain here.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty good. This is not going to be an easy start. They'll go based on the forecast that this is not going to last for any length of time. But it'll be a little tough here for both pitcher and hitter to start the ball game. Here is Jacoby Ellsbury. He did not play in Game 1. He will take the pitch inside for a ball. Ellsbury at the top of this lineup, getting the start in center field. You saw the big numbers he has put up against the Orioles in his career. That one will be fouled back the other way. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Trying to keep control of that baseball. Jimenez here trying to keep a dry baseball out there will be the first problem for at least the moment.
And it really is. It's your it's your footing, your push off, you slide a little bit. Of course, your landing foot, your left foot. That's certainly important. Pretty good curveball, but out of the zone. And again, Ellsbury, I don't know if the turf, because it's a little bit wet, will slow him down, but he is the guy that gets on base and makes things happen for the Yankees.
That pitch will miss away. First inning has been the tough one all season long for Ubaldo. He has surrendered in the first inning some 16 runs, and that's the most of any inning pitched. Ball will be put up in the air and out of play. 3-ball, 2-strike count.
Yeah, the other thing is, Gary, and you know this as well as I do, if you're up at home plate, hitters will tell you in a rainstorm it is not exactly easy to see the ball.
No.
So you got a pitcher that's having trouble controlling it and a guy having trouble being able to pick it up.
Delivery on the way to him. Ellsbury up the middle, knocked down. Jimenez helps his own cause. Little sidearm throw to get Ellsbury.
I'll take a look at the Oriole defense, and boy, they played great defense in the first game. Pierce, Raimo, Parr, same outfield as in Game 1. Machado, Giannis takes over for Hardy, who had a nice afternoon with the bat. Flaherty, Davis, and then Caleb Joseph will take over for Matt Wieters. Matt with a single and 4 walks.
That'll bring Ackley to the plate. He had an 0-for-1, came on late in the ball game, Game 1, and that pitch will be taken for a ball. He'll be followed by Beltran. Rodriguez not in the lineup for game number 2. The off-speed delivery, that one's going to miss, and the count goes to 2-0. Jimenez against the Yankees this season. This will be start number 4. He's had 2 wins and 1 loss on the year. Foul back. That makes him 4-5 lifetime against the Yankees. This is his 11th career start against them. He holds a 6.23 ERA lifetime this year and 8.16 ERA against them. 2-1 delivery on the way. Ackley will pop that one up. This will be fun.
Yeah, well, the wind's
looking into the rain, but it's going to be behind the screen. Caleb Joseph, see him taking a second look. First you got to find it, then try and see it with the raindrops and watch the wind blow it around.
Well, it seems that the wind is actually blowing towards the stands. At least been blowing pretty much into the booth all night. This is not a low ballpark like Fenway, where because of the low roof, wind probably affects the ball more in Boston.
2-2 delivery on the way to him, and a swing and a foul ball. Ackley in that number 2 spot. One of the reasons are his numbers against Jimenez. He is 7 for 14 with a home run lifetime off of Baldo. There are some pretty big numbers in this lineup against Jimenez, and they're stacked up with Ackley, Beltran, and McCann. Pitch will be inside, and the count goes full. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, when you see numbers like that, that means you usually get behind. You got to throw strikes. You got to get it up. Baldo, when he's on his game, is going to live right around the kneecaps.
3-2 delivery, and he walked him. Jimenez surrenders the walk with 1 away. Take a look at our Jeep Inside the Numbers regarding the Orioles starter.
Well, there you go. I mean, this is what happens at home. 9-2. This is the last 17 games. They score him a bunch of runs. He actually almost averages 6 runs a start. Why not? When you're getting 6.46 runs. But again, the thing for him, and we all know this, we've got a chance to watch him, is pitch count. And they're going to try to work the count, or he's going to help them work the count. You know, Beltran, he's been red hot. As we mentioned, 15 of those home runs against right-handed pitching. He's looking for a ball in the inside half.
5-game hit streak for Beltran. That ball's going to go to first. 1 at second. Relay. Double play at first base. As Jimenez got over there to help cover with Flaherty. Who got the ball? Who got the ball? They got 2 on this one, though. Davis with a nice throw, and then you got to make sure you handle it cleanly. Yanis does, and Ubaldo reaches out in front and makes the catch. Under the umbrella, let's look at the starting lineup for the Orioles, brought to you by Southwest. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Raimo, Power, and Machado, Davis, Pierce, and Clevenger, Joseph, Flaherty, and Yanis. Caleb Joseph this season, tremendous numbers against the Yankees.
And been looking forward to seeing Severino pitching, in person. Good fastball, slider, changeup. And again, some nights to be the changeup a little bit more predominant than the slider. Terrific arm, 96, 97. Really not that tall, 6 feet, maybe about 195. So you can see the walks. He can get a little bit wild. Righties have trouble with him. Lefties, of course, hit him better. So again, it's going to be a little different than Ivan Nova, who, as you mentioned, three-game losing streaks. Now make that 4, losing the first game of this doubleheader.
Nolan Raimo leading it off, as he did in the first game, where he went 2 for 3. Now up to 244 on the season. Severino making his first appearance against the Orioles. 0-1 pitch, and that's deep to left field. Way back at the wall, and goodbye, home run! Nolan Raimo, a leadoff homer for the Orioles. That is number 5-0 in the home run department for Raimo, and the fans to their feet in the very first at bat the O's have.
Well, again, you hit off the fastball off of Severino because he's got a plus fastball. That one was at 94, and it's belted. You talked about in the first game because of the injury to Adam Jones with the back and the bone bruise in the right rotator cuff. Nolan getting to play and getting to play center field.
He got this one.
Now check this one out. Middleitis. Boy, it's bad. It's bad if you're a pitcher. Great if you're a hitter. Looking fastball, gets fastball, and no doubt about it.
It's his first leadoff career home run. That one punched to center. Ellsbury won't have a play. And Parra continues his hot day. 4 for 5 in the first game with 3 RBIs for Gerardo Parra. A couple of doubles, 2 singles, and he comes right back in this one and picks up a base hit.
Well, take a look at their defense. Nothing for home runs and singles. Ackley, Ellsbury, Heathcott, and then Ryan, Gregorius, Ref Snyder, Greg Bird, who's come on and really done a great job both fielding and hitting. And then the veteran Brian McCann doing the catching. Their RBI leader behind the plate.
So Parra's on at first base, and he's going to test Severino right away as he takes a pretty good lead at first. Not running, and the pitch will be taken for a strike by Manny Machado. Manny's got a 3-game hit streak, 2 for 5, home run, 3 RBIs in the first game of the doubleheader. Severino, base stealers against him, 3 out of 5. He sees Parra's lead over there and makes the throw over. Well, Manny just blasting away, 4 home runs and 7 RBIs in the last 3 games with a .462 average. I mean, that's hot. There goes Parra. He was going to take off, and he's out by a country mile. Good throw made by McCann, who's thrown out 36% of base stealers, and there's the first out.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, unless you really know you can make it, unless you really know you get a good jump, is that you're running yourself out of a possibility of maybe multi-runs only because of the way Machado can hit. And I guess if you're Severino, you're only 21. You may not know it, but he's very thankful that Parra ran himself. And you know, obviously McCann has to make a good throw, but you do take an RBI situation out of Manny's hands, and as hot as he's been, that's what, if you're struggling in the first inning, you're looking for.
And that takes a little stuffing out of the inning too right away. So Machado will try and get that stuffing back in. Pitch will be taken down low.
Well, this strike zone already is much. Mike Linsky, I haven't really seen do a lot of umpiring, but Marty Foster had a big strike zone. Very consistent, high, low, and pretty much over the plate in the first game. A little bit different
2-2
already
down
here.
low.
Yeah.
McClinsky is the replacement umpire. When you have doubleheaders, there are 5 umpires at the ballpark, and the home plate umpire for the first game, Marty Foster, sits out the second game. McClinsky joined the crew for this game number 2. 3-ball, 2-strike count on Machado, and the pitch is there, and he will be a strikeout victim.
Yeah, he's got such a good arm. I mean, this is almost like a cut fastball. I think it's just a slider, but well, I mean, talk about a power slider. 89 miles per hour. You give up on it because you think it's going to come inside, comes back, catches the inner third of the plate.
His contract was selected from AAA, and at the age of 21 has come up and done a tremendous job. 5-3, 2.77 ERA. Here is Chris Davis, 2 for 4 in the first game. Severino's fastball will be a strike called.
And the other thing is he's won he's 5-1 in his last 7 starts. In 6 of those games, 1 run or less. So here's the 21-year-older that has not only come up, but has pitched well for the Yanks when they need it.
That pitch will be taken away. He is the youngest pitcher starting a game in the majors this season. First Yankee in franchise history to give up 2 or fewer in 8 starts, 8 of his first 10. That's the best that young pitcher's ever done.
Well, out of the Dominican Republic, and you can see right there. And
1-1 Davis back into the screen.
This is one of the reasons you want to have a good Latin American scouting and signing abilities. And $225,000. And that was 2012. So there is the home run speed. Nolan Reimold, 95 miles per hour. League average
77.
I hate to tell the forecaster, but it's still raining. 1-2 delivery on the way, and that one's going to be fouled back. Sam Holbrook is a crew chief. He's down there at second base. Question as this goes on is, when does it become dangerous for the players?
Yeah, they just don't want the field to get so wet that you can't get it back in condition. So it would take a prolonged rain to do that, and I'm sure they'll monitor that.
1-2 delivery may have hit him on the foot or just bounced. It hit him on the foot. So Davis will go down, hit by a pitch.
Yeah, got hit in the foot, but swung in the first game. It's just a little slider, gets the back foot right on the toe.
So Davis goes down, hit by a pitch by Severino. That'll bring up Steve Pearce. Pearce had an 0-for in the first game with the 0-for-5. Hitting just $148 against the Yankees. He's played in 9 games against them this season. 2 down. He will foul that one back. So all these hitters getting a look at Severino for the first time. So you'd like to go through this lineup quickly, not have to display all of his pitchers, and not all 2 or 3 times, so that the Oriole hitters get to see it, if they can see it, through this through the rain. 0-1 count. And that one down the line, that could be a fair ball. It is. It'll go into the corner. Ackley going after it. Davis coming to third. He's going to be waved home. Got to play at the plate. Relay throw. One hop. And he didn't get control of it. McCann could not hang on. It'll be a double and an RBI for Steve Pearce.
I tell you, Gregorius, Didi makes a great throw, but I'm not sure McCann saw it. And then you bring the rain factor in there. Looked like the ball skidded. And it stayed down. So again, I mean, this is going to be a foot race. And then watch this ball hit the bottom of the cushion and stay right there. So a little bit longer. Ackley picks it up. Here comes Chris Davis. And the throw beats him. He just can't hold it. Right in the glove. I don't know if he saw it because Chris Davis is maybe shielding it a little bit. But at the end of the day, he doesn't catch it. The Orioles have a 2-0 lead.
Chris moves into second place in RBIs in the league. That is his 114th run batted in. He moves ahead of Jose Bautista by 1 for the moment. Or Steve Pearce, rather, and the RBI, as Pearce blasted that one for his 40th of the year. And there is Chris, who scored, came in on that slide right into McCann.
Well, how many guys leading the league in home runs can score on that double? It tells you he can run a little bit.
Runner still at second base. Clevenger up, 2 down.
And then you get your #1 guy with the runners in scoring position. Steve at 381. Line drive hitter. Puts the ball in play. Not trying to overswing. That's just not what he does.
0-1 deliveries inside. The Orioles had a 4-for-15 with runners in scoring position in the first game. And obviously real concern for the Yankees now, with Severino getting touched up early. 2 runs on 3 hits. And that one will be fouled back by Clevenger, who again is going to be the DH for the Orioles. Severino's been able to keep the hits and runs down in the starts he's had this season. Most against him was the short outing against Toronto, where he gave up 6 runs on 6 hits. 1 ball, 2 strike count. That's going to go to third. Runner coming. Play will be made at first by Brendan Ryan, and that will do it. But the Orioles come away with a couple of runs on 3 hits. Reimold, his first career leadoff homer, picks up the first RBI, and it's a 2-0 lead. To help support Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, you can help by going to Orioles.com/charity. The Orioles have made a $50,000 donation. You can make a donation and then get 50% off tickets for the ball game tomorrow. So the Orioles take the quick lead, 2-0 lead, and that'll bring the Yankees up here in the second. Reimold with the RBI home run to start the ball game for the O's, and Davis first coming around to score on the Pierce double. McCann will lead it off. McCann 10 for 40 off the ball to Jimenez with 1 home run.
Yeah, that's the National League matchup.
He will take the pitch for his strike. McCann, of course, for the Braves. Ubaldo was pitching for Colorado. He's not had a hit in his last 15 or 13 times to the plate. Pitch will be taken up high, and a 1-ball 1-strike count. So Jimenez some runs to work with here. Ubaldo has averaged 5 2/3 innings in the 31 starts he's had. The Orioles are 17-14 wins and losses in ball games started by Jimenez, and he is after win number 13 in his final start of the year. 1-ball 2-strike delivery to McCann, and that hit him, and he'll go down.
Yeah, you pitch in, and I don't know if he has protection or not. A lot of guys that lead elbow, they just turn in. It's the way you take a pitch. You can just see right there, and I think he does have a little padding.
He'd have to move that slowly.
Yeah. Of course, he's a pull hitter. Hovers over the plate, and that's what they're looking for.
So with the leadoff man on, that'll bring Bird to the plate. Greg Bird with Teixeira out, getting the starts at first base, and the pitch will be taken down low for a ball. Against the Orioles, he's had just a 1 for 10, only 10 chances, a home run.
Yeah, that was a hanging slider off Brian Mattis, the 3-run home run.
He'll take that one for his strike. Clearly the Yankees, early in the ball game at least, their approach, as Jim talked about, is taking pitches. They're coming up there waiting for strike one, trying to make Ubaldo throw as many as possible early, and that's going to be there at the knees for his strike 1 and 2.
Well, that is why you do your side work, and that is why when you're, whether it's April or September, you live to be able to dot that outside corner, and when he's done that, he's been very effective, because then he can throw his other pitches for balls.
That'll be down low.
But the thing, you know, you look at Greg Bird, and of course he grew up with the Orioles starter Kevin Gausman. He was a catcher. Kevin was talking about incredible power, and he showed that. You talked about it in the first game. 11 home runs in 44 games, and they're long distance home runs. He's done a terrific job with Teixeira out.
2-2 delivery will be foul back. Yankees and we will keep an eye on the late game taking place in Arizona when it gets underway, where the Astros are going to be playing. Yankees trying to secure that home field advantage for the wild card game. It's going to go right down to the final day for a couple of ball clubs, and that is fouled back.
Well, the Orioles have, they've won in 2012, 13 postseasons, in 14 and 12. But all you have to do is go back to 2011 when they won 5 of the last 7. If you're a Yankee and the way they played the Red Sox, you know this team does not give up.
2-2 delivery on the way, and that will miss down low.
So the Orioles again trying to get to 500 and get over it. But they want to put pressure on the Yankees. And of course the Yankees want to put pressure on Ubaldo by making him throw a lot of pitches.
Down to first base, and that goes by the glove of Chris Davis. McCann on his way to third. Bird will hold it first, and I'm telling you, you talk about running gently. These players, especially McCann, he came around to second base like he was running on eggshells, and you can't blame him. It's wet and slippery.
Well, you can see the split grip, and it stays up enough, and Bird strong hooks it. It's usually a ball that Chris Davis will catch, and you can see the water spray because the ball slows down. So the Yankees want to win, but they don't want to get hurt.
They know they're going to the postseason, and they can't afford to lose anyone else. That'll be a base hit for Bird. The Yankees get their first chance with a runner in scoring position. Rob Refsnyder playing at second base, had a 1 for 4 in the opener. The Yankees were 1 for 12 in the first game in these situations. They left 8 on. The Orioles left 10 on, and the Orioles 9-2 win. 0-1 count. Yankee Oriole fans having their own little battle now. And the pitch is in there for a strike. So Ubaldo gets ahead of him quickly, 0-2.
Well, we saw this in the first game when Wei and Chen lead off triple by Chris Young, and he stranded him because he was able to get a pop up, then a strikeout in the third out. So 0-2, this is what you're looking for right here, the punch out.
And that one will be taken away. Chance for the Yankees to get on the board. Took him a while in the first game. Wei and Chen shutting them down. There is Wei, finished up 11-8 with a fine 6+ inning 2-run 4-hit performance. Got him to go after one. Foul tipped into the mitt.
Yeah, nice little pitch, good movement, a little extra velocity, and then right on the outside corner, Refsnyder tries to go out and protect. Look at the ball run back. The ball probably ran 3-4 inches. So good velocity. I mean, pretty much ended up in the middle of the pitch, the plate, but the movement got him.
So with 2 on and 1 away, Gregorius will come up. Didi Gregorius 0 for 2 coming on late in the first game of the doubleheader. Couple of hits, 5 at bats off Jimenez. First and third for the Yankees, McCann and Bird. Thought about it. It is there for a strike against Gregorius. 250 with runners in scoring position for the shortstop, who has had an amazing second half, getting over the Jeter jitters. That one in the air, center field, and a runner will tag. Reimold. Play will be an RBI as McCann, who started the inning hit by a pitch, crosses for the first Yankee run, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, so Gregorius does at least minimally what he wanted to do. Get it in the air.
Gregorius picking up the RBI. Remaining at first base is Bird. For Gregorius, that'll be his 55th run batted in. Now there are 2 down. Heathcott at the plate. Takes the pitch at the knees for a strike. Late Heathcott for the Yankees is getting the start in this ball game in right field. Limited chances for the Yankees on the year. He will foul that one off at the plate. Only his 17th game. He's only had 23 at bats. Has a couple of home runs and 7 RBIs with that .391 average. He's had 9 hits and 23 at bats.
Yeah, only hit 2 home runs in 67 games at AAA. And he's already matched that here in the big leagues. One to the opposite field. Big 3-run home run.
That pitch is going to miss down low to him. So Heathcott with the opportunity. 267 at AAA. 7 doubles. 25 runs scored. 1-2 pitch to him, and that's laced the other way, and that is a foul ball. Missed by just that much from putting one in the corner. Slade Heathcott will come back. Texas had an opportunity to wrap up a division title today. They were 3 outs away from it, and they lost. The Angels had an amazing comeback and beat Texas. No, the Rangers are still waiting to see if they're going to get it. 11-10 was the final.
5 runs in the 9th inning for the Angels.
Yep. They too will be watching the Houston game because Texas can clinch if Houston loses in their ball game. It will be a clincher for the Rangers for the division. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Heathcott with the runner at first base. Greg Bird. Rain letting up, and the pitch is there, and Ubaldo Jimenez gets the strikeout. 2 in the inning. Run will score. McCann, the hit batter, will let it off crossed, and the Orioles lead is 2-1. at the top. Pirates, White Sox, then the Rangers, Indians, and the Orioles again with the 8. The Orioles this season, they split with the White Sox, swept the Indians, split with the Blue Jays. Against the Yankees all time, they have swept 20, been swept 18, and have split 34 in doubleheaders against New York.
Here we get all these numbers from 1996 June to September of 2014. The Yankees played 52 doubleheaders and got swept once. Their last 2 doubleheaders,
swept.
They got swept.
1-0 pitch, swung on a miss. Caleb Joseph, Flaherty, then Giannis will be due up. Caleb with the big numbers we showed you against the Yankees. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, .395 batting average this year against New York. And that one back into the screen.
Now the kind of stuff Severino has is that he can throw that pitch right there and get away with it. 93, pretty much in the middle of the plate, enough movement. Everybody I talked to said that for a 21-year-old, he's able to pitch with his fastball both sides of the plate pretty well. We'll see if he's able to do that tonight.
1-2 delivery will be chopped. He's got to cover first. Nope. Play is going to be made to Bird, who gets back to the bag. That's Snyder, the second baseman, on the play. Tomorrow the Orioles will finish out the regular season. Don't forget it's a 3:05 game against the Yankees. First 25,000 fans 15 and over get the Steve Pearce Fans Choice bobblehead from AT&T. So celebrate the final game. Orioles.com or 888-848-BIRD for tickets. All games in the majors start at 3:05 tomorrow, just to make it interesting as to the decisions that will be made on the final day as to who finishes where. Check swing comes right back to the mound off the bat of Flaherty, and there are a couple outs. Well, our Maryland Lottery contestant of the game, Linda Starkey from Baltimore. 500 for being selected, 500 more for every Orioles home run hit tonight. You can play baseball bug scratch offs, win up to $50,000. Learn more at mdlottery.com/baseball.
So already $1,000 for Linda.
Not bad.
Oh, nice way to start the evening.
Home run by Reimold, and 500 for being selected. And the pitch will be taken away by Giannis. 13 games with the Orioles, hitting .250. 1-0 delivery on the way, and the pitch will be taken outside. It's the first game he's played against the Yankees since 2011. Paul has had opportunities at the major league level in years gone by. 2-0 count, 2 down. Severino's delivery, a wrinkle on that one at the knees, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a change-up or a slider, but when you throw 93 to 95, pretty effective because you're not looking for it.
Adam Jones left out, bad bag. Jonathan Scope right out with the knee and hand. That goes to third. Brendan Ryan's got it, and a good inning for Severino. Orioles are retired in order to complete game 2 of the doubleheader, and the Orioles are up 2-1. of Maryland University College, who brings us this moment in history. It was on this date in 1974 that Frank Robinson became the first black manager in Major League Baseball history. Former Reds and Orioles star signed to manage with the Cleveland Indians. And in 1970, Baltimore's Mike Cuellar became the first pitcher to homer in a league championship game. He had the fourth inning grand slam, which was the difference in an Orioles 10-6 ALCS victory against Minnesota in Game 1.
Yeah, he hit it about 15 feet foul. Wind blew it around the pole, and then in the World Series, Dave Grand Slam McNally had a home run against the Reds.
Pitching power at the plate. Brendan Ryan will foul that one back. Number 9 hitter, 2 for 13 lifetime off Jimenez.
Well, the other thing is, I actually, a lot of times they talk about players that become managers. Of course, Frank, the Hall of Famer, 586 home runs. He paid his dues. He went to Puerto Rico even when he was playing. I played for him when I hurt my shoulder. Yeah, like an all-star team down there, but Frank got his experience. Hiram Cuevas managed Santurce, so he could have been home doing whatever, but he chose because I think he envisioned that one day he would become a manager, and he became the first African-American manager.
0-2 the count on Ryan. And a swing and a miss. A ball to a great pitch over the top on the inside. That's his third strikeout.
Yeah, third out of the last 4 batters. And here's the magic formula. It looks like a wiffle ball in the driveway. Back in the old days, ball diving and darting all over the place. Why? Because he didn't have to throw it for a strike.
Menez gets the first out. It'll bring up Ellsbury, the leadoff batter. He grounded out his first time up. 5-game hit streak. 7 for 22 with the 0 for 1 added in this ball game. Jacoby Ellsbury, 1-run ball game. Orioles outfield moved around to right, playing into pull, and he does. That'll go into the corner. That's going to be a foul ball. Close but not quite. Among the other games that are going to be played that matter tonight, the Pittsburgh Pirates have a chance to clinch home field in the National League wild card game with a win or with a Cubs loss. Either way, that will take care of that one. Chicago and Pittsburgh heading to that wild card game. Dodgers, they got a chance to clinch home field against the Mets if they can get with a win and 2 Met losses. That pitch will be taken down low for a ball. The Mets did lose today. A score of 3-1 to the Nationals. 2-ball, 1-strike count on Ellsbury. And over the top, just got enough to foul it off. Now Jacoby with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Orioles trying to sweep this doubleheader.
Yeah, a little slider and a fastball count, fouled. Boy, he got everybody. Glove, protector, and then the umpire.
Pinball. And it will stay at 2-2.
Now you look at Jacoby, of course, the one big year with the Red Sox, 32 home runs, but 32 hits to left, 48 up the middle, 36 to right.
And a foul tip into the mitt, held onto by Caleb Joseph. 3 strikeouts in a row.
Yeah, if you could really, location and movement, velocity, those are 3 important things. But if you have movement, and we've seen it on a couple of occasions, that ball ends up in the middle of the plate. Target's on the corner, but the movement gets Ellsbury. He thinks he's got it tracked. Ball just moves enough, late life, and they get another strikeout.
The Yankees are in the middle of the league starting today's play offensively in strikeouts, 7th most. Here is Ackley, drew a walk. His first time up, 2 down, nobody on, 3rd inning. 1-0 delivery, and that will miss outside for a ball.
Yeah, this is not a good. I understand what Ubaldo's trying to do because Ackley hits him well, as you mentioned, Gary, but you just don't. You got to make your pitches, and I guess he figures I'll either make the perfect pitches, Dave Wallace, or a pitching coach looking on, and if not, I'll try to get back in the count. Of course, he's got 2 other pitches other than the fastball to do that. See where he's trying to stay.
2-1 delivery will be up high.
And then he doesn't get that call. And he's wondering where was that pitch.
31-year-old right-hander with a 3-ball 1-strike count on Ackley. He'll go the other way. Pierce will make the catch, and that'll do it. So 1, 2, 3 inning. Good job. That's 6 in a row retired by Jimenez. The Orioles up by 1. By visitannapolis.org. Find the Chesapeake experience at visitannapolis.org. And by your local Mercedes dealership. Light rain continuing to fall. Fans dressed for it. It is cool, and those hats could not have been given away on a better night than tonight, when we started at 56 and light rain. Orioles bat, Raimo, leadoff home run. There's 6 on the year. Pitch will be taken down low for a ball. The home run off Severino, the 8th he has given up in the 58 innings that he has pitched so far this year.
And the one thing you notice when you saw those 4 numbers at the bottom of the screen is that .340 on base percentage. And the other thing is that Nolan's been able to play, stay healthy enough to be in the lineup.
299 against the Yankees. 2-0 delivery on the way to him, and a swing and a foul ball. He's now scored 26 runs in 47 games against the Yankees. That'll get you into the lineup. That's what Showalter loves, to fill a lineup with guys who do well against the opposing pitcher, the opposing team, and in that particular ballpark. In the air, center field, Ellsbury back. And he will put it away for the first out. Not receiving Mass and mobile alerts? We'll just text the word Orioles 29292 for in-game alerts. Chances to win exclusive prizes, including meet and greets with your favorite players and autographed memorabilia. That's Orioles 29292. Here is Parra. Parra with a base hit, his first time up. In at third base, Brendan Ryan to take away the bunt. And that one's going to be ripped into the seats. Parra with the 4-hit ball game in game number 1. That's the 13th game in his career where he's had at least 4 hits. 0-1 delivery gets moved off the plate by Severino.
Well, you just kind of like the way he did it. I talked about all his home runs for the Orioles, 1 in California, 4 here, 5 total came in the first 21 games, and then it looked like maybe tried to hit home runs. And for him, it's almost like just have quality bats, they'll come.
1-1 delivery to Parra, chopped right at the plate. It's fair ball. McCann makes the play. Parr is retired, 2 down. So after the double by Pierce in the first inning, 6 in a row have been set down by Severino. Machado will take his time coming up to give his pitcher a little more time on the bench after a couple of quick outs here in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, I thought Severino would be, as we talked, just like Ubaldo, who's 6'5", he'd be a little taller. But he's 6 feet tall. I mean, well built at 195. Thought he'd be more like maybe Nova, 6'3", 6'4". Pineda's a little bit taller than that. He'll pitch tomorrow. But he's got an arm.
Manny Machado, 2 down, bases empty. Strike at the letters.
And the other thing I look at is, as a former pitcher and having been around for so long, watching other guys, he's got a very simple windup. Kind of just breaks his hands over his knees.
Machado on a big home run cut, 95.
And if you're going to chase 95 with movement up out of the zone, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to hit it. And the other thing about Brian McCann, second year with the Yankees, he does give you and presents a terrific target. A lot of catchers don't want to get the glove up early, but just watch him and watches the way he moves and watch the way he presents a target if you're trying to hit it.
0-2 pitch on the way, and he hit it into left field. It is back at the wall, and goodbye, home run! Manny Machado continues his tear at the plate for the Orioles. He has homered in 4 consecutive games. That is the first time he has done that in his career. And the Orioles get that run back, and it's 3-1.
Yeah, I thought his interview talking about, again, being real hot. You can see home run number 35, 2 on Thursday, 1 in the first game, another one here. He says, I've just become a better hitter. And just about any hitter you ever talk to, batting instructor, will tell you that when the at-bats start mounting up and you have talent, he certainly does.
That goes into the shift off the bat of Chris Davis. Play is made by Ref Snyder. That will record the out, but the Orioles add a run. And Manny Machado, who is just kicking it at the plate right now, does so here. After a couple of big cuts, he found one up that he could get the home run and a 3-1 Orioles lead. Run that he has put up in the month of September, and they have been no doubters. And now he's got 35 on the year for the Orioles, and the one in this one's given them a 3-1 lead. Power surge for Manny. Shift is on by the Orioles. Beltran up, takes the pitch away. Hit into a double play, his first time to the plate. You see Manny this season, 86 RBIs now. That one will go the other way. Pierce will go back, has it lined up.
Now you could say that Beltran is swinging the bat. He hit the ball hard the first time. That was a splitter that stayed up. Good positioning. The Orioles again do that about as well as anybody. So they're shifted around. A potential double is just a line drive out.
That'll bring McCann to the plate with Bird on deck. McCann hit by a pitch in the second inning and would score the only run on the board so far for the Yankees. Jimenez pitched to him, put up in the air, left center field. They were playing him the other way. Reimold coming over. That was high enough to get there. Couple of quick outs. Orioles have announced that the Longevity Foundation's Breathe Deep Baltimore 5K walk to raise funds and awareness for lung cancer in memory of the late Orioles Public Relations Director Monica Pence Barlow has been rescheduled for Sunday, October 18, 9 o'clock here at the ballpark. Those who had previously registered automatically rolled over to the new date. You can find out more or register at Orioles.com/longevity. That's October 18. Base hit for Bird. He takes the pitch for a strike. Orioles looking to extend their win streak to 4 ball games and even up the season series against the Yankees. Orioles are 8-9 against New York this year, but they have beaten them here at home now 5 out of the 7 games played at Camden Yards.
The Orioles had gone 16 straight years where they either had lost or tied I think two of those straight series to the Yankees until last year.
1-1 delivery. That'll be taken for a strike. 83 in the off speed pitch and a good one. 1-2 to Bird. And that pitch by Evaldo will be up high. 2-ball, 2-strike count. So there are going to be games on the final day that are going to matter. Amazing thing is that division championship in the West not decided yet. Into the shift and caught. That's why you have a shift. Ryan Flaherty in shallow right field hauls it in. Evaldo Jimenez retires the side in order. He has set down 9 in a row.
And you total it up, 21 home runs, bunch of RBIs, 89 of them, high average, 341 collectively, and then he does win Brooks Robinson minor league player of the year. Going to go in A-ball and then up to Double-A, and didn't seem to bother him one bit. Actually got better. What you like from your young players?
Progress. Steve Pearce goes after the first pitch, right field. Heathcott just kept on coming.
They circle route. Former #1 draft choice, so he's got some skills out there.
Pearce, who had an RBI double, retired on a pitch here in the bottom of the 4th inning.
Well, Severino says, well, you're not going to get another fastball to hit, and if you do, it's not going to be in the middle of the plate, so he throws him a little slider.
Steve Clevenger grounded out his first time up. He'll go after the first one upstairs. News in baseball today. White Sox announcing Robert Ventura will be back. Tigers and White Sox are playing each other tonight, trying to stay out of last place. Brad Ausmus is also coming back with the Tigers. That was announced a week ago.
Well, the media fired him, and Alex Avila said,
hired him.
Said, no, you're not going anywhere. Well, Terry Collins can't manage either. I read that
That's
all
right.
year. Yeah.
1-1 pitch taken for a strike.
Mets are going to the division championship.
Miguel Cabrera is going to win another batting title. He's set out a couple of games, supposed to play today, leading the American League at the 334 average. Not enough at bats left for anybody to catch him. That ball fouled away. He is going to win his 4th batting title in 5 years for Miguel Cabrera, who may be right now the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah, Triple Crown winner a couple of years ago.
He'll join Ty Cobb, Ted Williams, Wade Boggs, Nap LaJoy, Rod Carew, and Harry Heilman, the only players to win 4 American League batting crowns. 1-2 pitch on the way. That'll go right back to the mound. Clevenger retired, 2 down. Now, so much to see and do in the beaches and islands of Sarasota, Florida's Gulf Coast, spring training home of the O's. Go beyond the stadium to Siesta Beach. Named winner of the 15 TripAdvisor Traveler's Choice Awards for beaches. You can make your plans by going to visitsarasota.org. 2 away. Caleb Joseph grounded out his first time up. We're in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Reimold, Machado, solo home runs in the game. Pierce, RBI double. RBI sac fly, Gregorius for the Yankees. Inside corner.
Yeah, nothing seems to phase this youngster. Again, down the stretch. Bird, Severino, Ref Snyder. Some of the injuries and whatever have done a nice job for the Yanks. And
that's going to be off the glove. Play made. Good play by Severino. Didn't break immediately after Bird couldn't handle it. He got there in time. Joseph is retired on a 3-1. So a 1-2-3 inning. We'll go to the 5th. Yankees try to come up with a home field advantage in the wild card, or trailing. That was given out tonight. The Orioles cap, which has come in mighty handy here, this hat, on a cool night, and folks are wearing them. Yes, you. Yes, sir. You are in style. Yes. Baldo Jimenez, a walk and 4 strikeouts in the ball game, 9 in a row, retired. Ref Snyder leads it off down to third. Fair ball. That'll go into foul territory. He'll head to second base. Pierce over to get it. Ball on that wet grass just slowed down to a stop by the time Steve could get to it. It's a double.
Yeah, you don't You don't really play for that because it's just a hanging splitter, so you're off the line. You can see Manny Machado, and then once it slithers its way into the outfield because of the wet grass, you could see it kind of spray and water right there, and then again Russ Snyder runs pretty well, so easy double. Second time they have gotten the lead off batter on.
It's only the second hit the Yankees have had in the ball game. Gregorius picked up the RBI and a sac fly. Infield will move around, leaving Manny Machado take away the bunt. That's going to be no bunt. That's a base hit. Hit so hard. Snyder's got to stop at third. He doesn't even get there before Parra gets it in. That's how hard that ball was hit. First and third, nobody out.
Well, this is a game of adjustment, and the second time through the order. If you're Ubaldo Jimenez in this case, or any pitcher, if you don't have overwhelming stuff, and he doesn't, he's a command guy, and you stop making good pitches, this is what happens. Hanging splitter, double. Hanging fastball, single.
So 2 on, nobody out. Heathcote coming up. He was a strikeout victim his first time to the plate. The Orioles will stay back in the middle for the double play. They'll be in at the corners. Manny Machado just off the grass. Chris Davis holding the bag will turn in coming off the bag. And the pitch will be a fastball up and away. Heathcote hasn't had many chances since coming up and joining the Yankees. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Wind continues to blow in. And that pitch up high, 2-0.
So that's 4 pitches all up in the zone here in the 5th inning. One of those cold, blustery night. Maybe a night you throw more 2-seam fastballs, a little better feel.
Didi Gregorius back easily. Bottom part of the order for the Yankees. You see that wind continuing to blow in from center and swirl. 2-0 delivery on the way, and that's pumped foul. And a 2-ball, 1 strike count.
Well, a big out here. Of course, an opportunity for the Yankees with runners at first, third, nobody out. But if you're Ubaldo Jimenez, try to get back in the count. Young hitter. Maybe you can get him out with a splitter. We've got Brendan Ryan waiting on deck. He's known for his glove, not his bat.
Stepping out, Heathcote. So stepping off, Ubaldo Jimenez. He's worked at a good pace. Pretty good clip, which they want him to do. 2-1 delivery, and that one goes to left field. Pierce, runner's going to tag, and he can't get it, and it will roll by him. Russ Snyder has scored. Gregorius is going to go to third, and it will be a double for Heathcote as Pierce tried to make the running catch down low, and it got by.
Yeah, it's a play that a lot of left fielders are make. For Steve Pierce, solid defender, but I think the wind. I think it knocks it down just enough that he can't get to it. Left-handed, he catches it. Right-handed, has to reach across his body. And meanwhile, you talked about the kind of gusting winds here. The ball slices, and it slices right away from his glove. And they get the second run and now have second and third and nobody out.
And it is a double, and it puts 2 in scoring position with nobody out. And Ryan up. Number 9 hitter, a strikeout victim. His first time to the plate. Again, not many opportunities. 6 for 22 with runners in scoring position. And a swing on the off-speed delivery way out in front of it. And the count goes to 0-1. So a key moment in the ball game as the Orioles trying to protect the lead. Now find that a base hit here could give the Yankees the lead. Pitch on the way, and that is going to miss outside for a ball. But Showalter would like nothing better than to maintain the dent in Joe Girardi's hope for home field for the wild card. Pitch on the way, broken bat, runner coming. He looks him back and gets the out. Shattered the bat on Ryan. Gregorius took a couple of steps. Jimenez turned him back to the bag.
Yeah, nice pitch right there. Running fastball right in on the fist of Brendan Ryan. Of course, he's trying to get a ball in the air, and he can't get it out of the infield.
That's a big out.
Yeah, it really is. First quality pitch, real quality pitch he's made here in the fifth.
So the Yankees 2 for 4 with runners in scoring position, get a fifth chance. Here is Jacoby Ellsbury. Ellsbury up. He's 272 with runners in scoring position. And a ground ball down to first, foul. And even with Ellsbury up, 2 in scoring position, Manny Machado will stay in trying to take the bunt away. Ellsbury can lay one down for a base hit if you give him a little room. So Machado's not giving him that room.
Yeah, and then Davis back because it's you got a 1-run lead. Third and fourth run for the Yankees. You're going to play back.
Foul back. He wanted that one. Enough on it to get it by him though, and quickly Jimenez up on the count 0-2. Low ball to Jimenez, trying to work his way through a jam here with a run in. Double, single, double for the first 3 Yankee hitters here in the 5th inning. Pitch on the way, and that will be up high. Ellsbury. Big numbers against Jimenez. 7 for 14 with a home run coming into the ball game. 1-2. Oh, right in the middle of the back. The second hit batter by Jimenez.
Well, the first one scored, and that was McCann. And you know he doesn't want to hit him, but he does want to come in. And then again doesn't want to leave it out over the plate, right under one of the twos. Of course, we talked about the Yankees trying not to get guys injured.
Yep.
Well, anytime you get hit around the rib area, that is not a good thing. Now it does get him on base to load him up.
So the base is loaded. 11 hit batters by Jimenez now, 2 in this ball game. And Ackley stands in, a walk and a fly ball out. Takes the pitch for a strike. Ironically, these 2 hitters, Ellsbury and Ackley, came in with identical numbers against Jimenez. Both 7 for 14 with a home run. So the bases loaded this season. He's gone 0 for 6. 0-1 delivery, and that ball is going to be popped up and not playable.
Yeah, the amazing number when you look at Ackley is, of course, these are numbers with both the Mariners and then coming over the Yankees, is the 7 for 57 with runners in scoring position at 123. I mean, one of the premier college players, one of the better college hitters ever to come out of college. At least that's what the scouts would say. Strong. I mean, he's hit 4 home runs, hitting over 300 in September for the Yankees.
0-2 delivery to him, way up high.
See, those are just wasted pitches. And I think the one thing that I've seen from Ubaldo, twice he's tried to go into lefties, but he goes up and in, and they don't mind getting hit it because look at the protection on the front arm. The ball down at the ankles or the knees, much more effective to get in on lefties.
1-2 delivery on the way, and went up and got him. So Ackley continues that low number in these situations. Strikeout 5.
Yeah, target in, ball out over the plate, but again the movement. Two-seamer, look at the ball run. And Ackley can't quite get to it.
Here's the big matchup. Here is Beltran. He is hit into a double play, flied out. Bases loaded. There are 2 down and a chance to get out of this. And the pitch will be up high for a ball. There's no place to put him. 257 with runners in scoring position. 11 career grand slams. 1-0 count. And floats that one in off speed pitch for a strike.
Yeah, pretty much, and we know he didn't mean to, but he hit 162 in the month of April. Carlos Beltran. You know, 38, turned 38 in the middle of the season. April didn't look like he could still play, and since then, one of their best players.
3 for 13 with the bases loaded this year. And as he chase 1 and 2, helping the cause of Jimenez.
Now you could see that with young hitters, but this is a 38-year-old veteran closing in on 400 home runs, and he does go out of his zone.
Gregorius, Heathcott, Ellsbury. 1-2, 2 down. Beltran away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A run in here in the inning. The Yankees, if Jimenez can get out of this right here, this will be a win for Jimenez. And that one down low. Good stop made by Joseph, and the count is full. No place to put him.
Yeah, exactly. You know what that means, at least normally. Don't want to walk in the tying run, is that you got to throw for more of the plate. And look at those numbers right there. Blowing. 3-2 counts.
3-2, 2 down. Beltran takes it, and he walked in a run. And that will tie the ball game at 3-3.
I didn't want to throw him a fastball, and it throws him a high slider. It stays up in the zone. Thought about swinging at it. Now to get Dave Wallace, Oriole pitching coach, out to the mound.
So Beltran picks up the RBI, number 67 on the year. Game is tied at 3-3. 2 runs in here in the 5th inning. Bases will remain loaded with McCann coming to the plate.
You saw that pitch count at 83.
Well, in that sense, when we talked about it earlier, Jim, the Yankees have done what they wanted. They made him throw a lot of pitches.
Well, that's what they do. They're second in the American League in offense coming in. And, you know, they hit home runs, a couple less than the Orioles. So they're number 4. Second best on base percentage. Make you work. And that's been the MO tonight.
McCann is the 8th Yankee to hit in the inning.
There's a perfect example. He is not looking for a breaking ball. Baldo doesn't throw it over as much as you look at T.J. McFarland getting loose. So again, with 0-0, he just takes it. It's a ball.
1-0 to McCann, gets away. Runners will stay.
Now again, that one not even close. So by taking the first pitch, because you have a good idea of what you want to hit.
Really in a jam now.
Yeah, it really just makes it tougher. So you get back into that hitter's count.
McCann this year has had 1 grand slam. He's 6 for 16 with the bases loaded.
And 10 of his 26 home runs are away. Those are fabulous numbers right there. 11 grand slams.
McCann will take it, and it's ball 3. So Jimenez, who had been rolling along, retired 9 in a row coming into this inning. Ref Snyder started with a double. Takes it all the way. It is in there for a strike. So McCann, 3 balls, 1 strike, 2 down.
And the problem with getting Brian McCann out is if you throw him a fastball inside half, he is going to have a home run swing.
3-1 is there for a strike.
I'll take that back. He had to be looking for something else because that's his home run pitch. 89 inside middle, real good fastball hitter, and he took it.
See the ball up. Pitch count up. 3-2 delivery. Fouled off the other way by McCann. One of the players who's made an enormous difference for the Yankees is Brian McCann. His work behind the plate and the bat that he has brought to the Yankee lineup. And a key moment here in this ball game that's tied. 3-2 delivery again, and McCann, towering fly ball. It is down the line, and it is foul. Well, a real battle engaged here, and Caleb Joseph out to talk to his battery mate.
Oh, you got a young catcher and a veteran pitcher. What do we want to throw? Not only to try to get McCann out, but what do you think you can throw for a strike? And that's really what it comes. When you get to this 3-2 count, that's what it comes down to. And where can I stay away from his power?
Heathcott, Ellsbury, Beltran. They go chopper, third, foul. If that's anything close to fair, he's on, because the Orioles had the shift on.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll see Brian McCann. I mean, we've seen him. If you watch their games, he will bunt. Not in this, certainly not in this count, 3-2 with the bases loaded, but he'll poke the ball to left field.
327 hitter, lifetime here at Camden Yards. Couple of home runs in this ballpark. 3-2, third 3-2 pitch. And he will pop it up into the shift. Right fielder Pyra coming in and will make the catch. So the Yankees will pick up a couple of runs. They do it on 3 hits. They will leave the bases loaded. Game is tied at 3. Have 411 walks, $20,550. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle. Three ball game. Can't get much tighter or evener than that. 3-4-0. Gary Thorne, Jim Palmer with you here. The Orioles will wrap it up tomorrow. 3 o'clock game. 2:30 for O's Extra, and we'll see when we get to the ballpark what's on the line for the ball game as far as the playoffs are concerned. Chris Tillman, Michael Pineda, the scheduled starters in the final game of the regular season.
Yeah, Severino seems to be trending in the right direction.
12 out of 17 first pitch strikes now.
Yeah, he is not afraid to throwing his stuff over. I read a nice quote from Brian McCann, said he seems to be figuring out what works and what doesn't on a more regular basis. Only 11 major league start.
Figure that out at age 21. You're going to be in good shape.
Well, it reminds me when I was a kid, in fact my first year in A ball, the Orioles, Yankees, and the White Sox, 1964, big pennant race. Mel Stoudemire got 13 starts, won 9 of them. Severino hadn't done quite that, but similar. Young pitcher. Stoudemire, very young, would go on to be one of the more. I mean, he was just one of the great all-around pitchers for the Yankees for years and years and years. Great pitching coach. You knew him, of course, when he was with the Mets as a pitching coach.
2-ball, 2-strike count on Ryan Flaherty, and a swing and a foul ball.
Now Ryan needs a hit. 0 for 5 here in this doubleheader.
2-ball, 2-strike count on Flaherty, will be followed by Janisch, and then Reimold at the top of the order. Severino with a 2-2 delivery, reaching, and he went. Home plate umpire will make the call, and that'll be the second strikeout for Severino.
And it doesn't matter who's hitting. 0-2, 1-2. Quite protect the strike zone.
Giannis grounded out his first time up. Orioles have continued all season long to have the better offense here at home. They're averaging 5 runs a game at home, 3.7 on the road. They will end with the irony of having played 78 games at home and 84 on the road. Whoa! They're going to get a warning on this one. Orioles have had 2 hit batters. Severino puts one over the head of Paul Giannis, and the home plate umpire Mike Leglinski immediately goes out and issues a warning to both sides, and both managers shaking their heads.
Well, you just have to. I mean, Joe Girardi could look quizzical and whatever. He's a former catcher. He knows the rules. When you hit people, especially the way the Orioles have been hit, that's at his head. That's a no-no. It's very simple. You don't do this. Did he try to do it on purpose? You're talking about a career-ending injury. Hitting a guy in the ribs when you have a 3-1 lead, or hitting a leadoff batter like you hit McCann. You can't compare that to what just happened. That is the way the game is played. It's Papelbon's BS he pulled with Manny Machado throwing his head. Now, I don't know if he tried to do it, but it looked pretty. I mean, in the next.
Giannis answers by hitting the ball by the third baseman Ryan. He'll make the turn and go to second. That, of course, is the all-time great response to being thrown at Paul Giannis.
Yeah, then he comes back and hangs a slider. And, of course, you know, you can't imagine Joe Girardi, when you're, a couple of days away from the postseason, would want anybody on his team getting hurt. And when you start throwing at people, of course, here's the end result of it, a hanging slider, bad hop, very much like the first game.
So the Orioles have the go-ahead run on at second base, potential go-ahead with 1 down, and they get Nolan Reimold to the plate. Second baseman Rev Snyder will try and hold the runner somewhat close. This is just the second chance the Orioles have had. Swinging strike called with a runner in scoring position. They are 0 for 1. Reimold's been outstanding. .344 in these situations. Home run leading off the ball game, bottom of the first inning, and flied out his second time up. 0-1 delivery. That'll pop out of the glove. It is a strike, though. 0-2. And maybe crossed up McCann going out.
Well, if he did, he made a terrific job of catching it. I think it surprised Nolan Reimold because he didn't think he was going to get another fastball. Well, it was a good one, inside corner. What you were talking about right there at 344 with a couple of home runs.
Great number. Giannis at second. Severino with the 0-2. And that is there in the inside corner. That'll be his third strikeout. 2 in the inning.
Yeah, it's almost a mystery pitch. I'm not sure if this is a 92-mile-per-hour changeup or maybe just a little cutter. But Nolan gives up on it. Yeah, it looked like maybe just pulled it down like a breaking ball. Awfully hard one at 92 miles per hour.
So Severino gets a couple of outs. Here is Parra. He has had a base hit, and he has grounded out, trying to give the Orioles the lead. 234 with runners in scoring position for Parra. And a swing and a miss on a pitch falling off the table. 0-1.
Yeah, that is the change up there. It was a good one. Hey, you talk to a lot of advanced scouts that have seen him pitch. The changeup some nights can be as good as that slider. So again, good velocity, and as you mentioned, very, very good movement.
Parra came into this doubleheader having only 6 hits and 42 at bats. A 143 average over the last 11 games. So far in this doubleheader, he's picked up 5 hits and 7 at bats, and of course in game number 1, 3 RBIs. 0-1 delivery to him, foul back into the screen, and an 0-2 count. He too, obviously, despite the fact he's a veteran, Parra is trying to make a statement. Where's he going to be next year? He doesn't know. With the Orioles offer and try and keep him here in Baltimore, he likes playing here, likes the ball club, likes the city. He enjoys being an Oriole. He wants to finish it with aplomb if he can. 0-2 count. Giannis off second base. Severino goes outside and he protects.
Yeah, Luis Severino's gone to another gear here. a little extra. I look at 94 to 96, and again, one of these guys very much like a right-handed Wei Chen. You don't pick it up. Ball jumps out of his hand. So maybe 94, 96, a little firmer than that.
0-2. Giannis good secondary lead, and another one foul back. One thing Severino is doing in this game that he's had real problems with, he's not walking people. It's been an enormous problem for him in most of the starts that he's had. Tonight he has not walked anybody, and in his last start he walked only one against the White Sox in 6 innings. So some better control coming his way, at least for the moment. 0-2 count. Parra waits on it. Down to third base at the inside out swing. And the play made by Ryan. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 1 left on base. Good ball game. Second part of our doubleheader is tied at 3-3. As they left the field, they went right by each other, and Paul Yonder seemed to say, okay, like no problem.
Yeah.
Real veteran move. I mean, he clearly wanted to say something to Severino, and there was no anger there, and Severino didn't respond as he went by.
No.
Giannis is a pro's pro. I mean, and I mean that as a highest compliment. Have not known him that long, but since getting called up and having a chance to see him and watch him, more importantly, he's a professional.
Well, he's just a guy you wish you could figure out to be a little bit better hitter because his glove is so good. You know, he joined the Orioles for the first time, had the elbow surgery. I mean, really was devastated that he couldn't actually show the Orioles in spring training because he had it like 3 weeks before the spring. It was a last minute thing, and again he goes down to AAA. He's got some big hits. I mean, he can really pick it.
J.J. Hardy started game 1. Watching this one for the moment. 1-1 delivery will be fouled away. Bird, the only Yankee not to hit in the 5th inning. Greg Bird is singled and lined out. We are now in the top of the 6th with the ball game tied at 3-3. And then has a couple of walks and 5 strikeouts. Pitch will be taken up high.
Yeah, I just don't understand that pitch. It's so far out of the zone, it doesn't really have any meaning.
And that one comes back in and gets him.
Yeah, and that's a little better. So again, he does strike out a lot. Came into this game 149 at bats, 50 strikeouts. So now what, 153 at bats, 51 strikeouts. Thought he handled it well with the passing of Yogi Berra. They had that stat. One of the writers came up to Greg Burke and said, you know, Yogi was up 687 times one year, struck out 12 times, which is one of the, 358 home runs, 18 All-Star games, 3 MVPs. Those are amazing enough, but 12 strikeouts and 687 at bats.
phenomenal.
Yeah, really
unheard of anymore. That's a base hit into right field. So Rev Snyder's had 2 hits, 2 for 3.
But I think you learn about your young players, Gary. When Greg Berg looked at the writer, he said, "You know the great thing about baseball? All players are different. We all have different styles."
That's a yogiism. Let's take a look at our Mile 1 upcoming schedule. 20 convenient locations throughout the Baltimore area. Visit them online or in the store at mile1.com. 1 left. That's your schedule.
And then there was 1.
And then how much meaning will it have tomorrow for these 2 teams? Orioles were tied with 3-way tie to stay out of the cellar in the East for the Orioles. As coming into today's play, Baltimore, Boston, Tampa Bay all had 78 wins. Orioles, of course, now have 79 wins. 1-0 count. Didi Gregorius, base hit, RBI, and a sac fly. And the pitch will be taken for a ball.
That's one of the, again, as you know, one of the great, and we'll go back into this one and I will finish that.
It was a complete accident. You were on your own there.
No, it wasn't.
Towering pop-up behind second base. Who wants it? Okay. And it'll be played there.
I think we ought to do it now.
Think we ought to do it now? All right. You're in charge here, so I'm going to do this.
Okay.
You can help Maryland Governor Larry Hogan and the Orioles in their fight against pediatric cancer and save 50% off tickets for the game tomorrow. Go to Orioles.com/charity and help raise funds. You can make a difference. That's Orioles.com/charity. Make a donation, 50% off to come to the ballpark for the final game of the season. Heathcott a double, and he has struck out. Runner on at first base. There are now 2 down. Houston is underway in Arizona. They've taken an early 1-0 lead. Houston up 1-0 in a very important ball game for Houston, for the Yankees, and for the postseason placements for the wild card game. He sees Sabathia on the right there. Pitch on the way. Great pitch by Jimenez. Boy, did he bury that one on him. 0-1.
Yeah, see, when Heathcott got the double, he got behind him. So he had to throw him a strike 2-1, and that's the ball he sliced away from Steve Pearce in left field. So with young hitters, again, if you can be close enough in the strike zone, well, that wasn't certainly the case there. You can get them to chase. You get into the fastball counts. Usually guys like Slade Heathcott, #1 draft choice, they can hit the fastball.
1 ball, 1 strike count. Game tied at 3. Each team 5 hits. Runner goes. Swing and a miss. Caleb's throw off the mark and a 1 hopper. And a stolen base for Rev Snyder.
He can do a lot of things. Of course, Caleb, very rarely, I don't know if he would have been able to get it close, because you can steal pretty much at will against Ubaldo Jimenez. You know you got to hurry, but again, that's one of the wilder throws we've seen. But again, kind of dried out a little bit.
Pitch on the way down low. Joseph will stop it. No, one thing that happened with the Angels coming back and winning today 11-10 over Texas. The Astros can no longer guarantee themselves the wild card with a win. It's going to come down to tomorrow. Again, TJ McFarland up. 2 ball, 2 strike delivery on the way, and he will take it up high, and the count goes to 3-2.
But what the Yankees can do by winning is guarantee home field advantage.
Yes. And
again, they're very good at home. Houston even better, 53-28. And then if they do, talking about Houston, they'll get Keuchel 15-0 at home, 5-9 on the road.
3-2 delivery and walked it. Walk number 3 puts runners on at first and second. 6th inning with 2 down. And number 9 hitter Brendan Ryan due up. Chase Headley is going to come on to pinch hit.
Well, he's a switch hitter, and again, TJ McFarland for the 3rd time is getting loose. So if you're Joe Girardi, you're going to you got to win this game. You send up the pinch hitter. If they bring in McFarland, Headley gets to turn around. Otherwise, you get the matchup of Ubaldo with 108 pitches, 63 strikes, 45 balls.
8 for 29 off Jimenez for Headley, and the off-speed pitch in there for a strike. So Buck Showalter making the decision, even with McFarland ready, he wants this matchup rather than the other. 0-1, 2 down, runners on at first and second base. And that pitch is there for a strike, and Headley coming off the bench quickly is down 0-2. And you see the pinch hit numbers for his career. Oh-2 delivery on the way, up and in. Tie ball game, 6th inning, 2 on and 2 down. Headley, 250 off righties, 284 off lefties. Started. Did he go? No. Toby Basner down at third base.
That's what Toby's looking at. It looked like he was going to swing and didn't.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Infield shifted around. Giannis playing right behind second base, the shortstop. Timeout asked for by the catcher. Caleb Joseph asked for the timeout as Jimenez is getting ready to go.
Yeah, Headley with the you talked about the numbers, but the one thing, and we saw that in the first game, 291 runners in scoring position. One of the higher Yankees. He's gotten a lot of clutch hits.
He will back out.
Well, this is Ubaldo's last hitter with Ellsbury on deck.
2-2 delivery to him, and he got him. Laid it in and froze him for the strikeout. 7 strikeouts in the ball game, 2 big ones here in the 6th inning. No runs, 1 hit, no errors. 2 are left on. 3-3. So the Orioles will say that's it. Parra going over. Ubaldo Jimenez has completed his final start of the season. Any Oriole runs here will go to his favor as the Orioles bat in the bottom of the 6th inning, and Manny Machado's up.
Yeah, Severino says, I'm not messing around with that high pitch anymore. He hit one about number high front of his uniform out of here for number 35.
Another one that's going to break away. There is Ubaldo and the skipper coming over. He's got a chance. The Orioles can get a run to be 13-10 on the year. Same pitch, 3 of them in a row, keeping it down and away to Machado, and 2-ball, 1-strike count.
Yeah, the other thing is he's doubled his amount of wins. 6 last year, 12 for Ubaldo. Maybe, as you mentioned, get him a run. Bullpen comes in, maybe 13.
Then came back inside with a breaking ball, and the count's 2-2. Machado, Davis, and Pierce coming up. Manny 7 for 15 over the last 15 at bats. He's had 8 RBIs. 2-2 delivery on the way, and they'll foul it back, holding the count. Right now, the way it's going with the Angels having won, Headley has stayed in the ballgame playing at third. And they get Machado.
Yeah, 97. This kid's again got great stuff, and tonight the ability to throw it over. Not afraid of contact, even though the guy took him deep the last time. Comes back, better pitch, better velocity, late life.
And that'll bring up Chris Davis, hit by a pitch, first inning scored, and he is grounded out. Second wild card spot could be tied, could be a tie with Houston and the Angels. Down the line left field, and that will be foul. That would require a playoff game if that happens on Monday. It would be in Houston. Maryland Live Casino inside the numbers, home run leaders. There's Davis on top, Cruz right behind him, Donaldson, Trout, and Bautista in that order. And did he go? Check, no. Nolan Arriendo, the National League leader, 42 home runs.
Yeah, what a year he's having.
1-1 pitch, ground ball goes down to first base, goes by, the throw is away, backed up by the catcher. McGrath's throw is a bad one. Davis is out. What a play. A little bit of everything on that one, mostly wrong, but it will result in an out unless the Orioles want to take a look at it.
Well, so again, he doesn't catch it. Off balance throw. McCann backs it up. Davis tries to turn it into a possible double, and I think he might have evaded the tag. Now watch it. I don't know if he tagged him. Look at him get the right hand in over his arm. He's safe. I would imagine the Orioles, what do they have to lose here? Doesn't tag him there. And then does he get the glove down, or does he reach over? Hasn't tagged him here. And there, probably got him. Yeah.
They're looking at the video for the Orioles.
That last little kind of nudge, or whatever you want to call it, by Gregorius looked like it got him in the chest.
At a better angle here on the. Yeah, that's real close. The call was out. We know that means you're supposed to have definitive evidence of the call being wrong.
Yeah, I think he got him. I mean, that was one heck of a chance. But right there, over the hand, does he get it? Yeah, I'm not sure it's on the bag.
Nope. Yeah, they are going to challenge. So Mike Wagner, the crew chief, will come down from first base, and the umpire involved in the call, Sam Holbrook, will come in from second base, and we'll see what happens on this manager's challenge. That was a pretty funky play right there.
Well, we've seen Chris Davis. He's already scored on a double from first base, and again, this is going to be. Can I get back?
You can't tell there because you can't tell whether he touched him there.
Yeah, right there, it looks like might have gotten the chest before the hand got down. So how did they score that?
Well, it's an error on the first baseman Bird, allowing him to reach first. Then 2-6 on the putout if it stands up. everybody watching it on the scoreboard here. I dove over you, said Chris. A game that matters so much for the Yankees for that home field. These plays obviously are important. Fans reacting to what they see.
Never really thought about the fact that maybe the left hand got in too.
Good at.
Yeah, I was kind of concentrating on the right.
He's out.
Yeah.
So an error on the first baseman and then 2-6 on the putout, and the Orioles lose their challenge as that one is unsuccessful.
Joe Girardi 2 for 2 today in his challenges.
So the bases are empty. There are 2 down, and that'll bring up Steve Pearce. Pearce a double and he flied out. Steve's got an RBI on that double in the first inning. Reimold homer, Machado home run. Those are the Oriole RBIs. Didi Gregorius sac fly, base hit. Beltran a bases loaded walk for the Yankees 3. And a 2-strike count. Severino quickly coming right after Steve Pearce. Outfield moves a bit to right. Pitch will be taken down low for a ball. Pretty efficient. 79 pitches thrown by Severino.
Well, you made a great point because he can walk some people. The pitch can't get up there. Not tonight. Of course, the Orioles have the least amount of walks in the American League over the course of 160 games.
1-2 on the ground to short. Didi Gregorius. And that will do it. No runs, no hits, an error. Nobody left on base. Tight ball game here. The Orioles won the day part of the doubleheader 9-2. Our night game is tied at 3.
And 10 coming in. 7 strikeouts on the evening. Again, only the one bad stretch when the Yankees were able to come back from a 3-1 deficit. So a lot of good pitches. And again, up and out. Bird goes down, and there's Headley for the last out of the 6th inning as he pitches his way out of trouble. You can see a few more changeups. Again, a lot of pitches. Probably not as much command, not wild, but again, he will leave it now with the call to the ball, the AT&T call to the bullpen. AT&T, proud partner of the Baltimore Orioles. AT&T, mobilizing your world. A busy week for T.J. McFarland. Came in on Thursday after that rain delay. Tyler Wilson starting the game and would end up winning the ball game, pitching 4 innings, gives up 5 hits. Gets his record to 1-2. Again, not a strikeout pitcher. You could see that the number from righties used to be close to 500. It's come down as the season has progressed, and you can see he is a ground ball pitcher. 64% of the balls, the outs, are on the ground.
This will be his 5th game against the Yankees. 6 1/3 innings worked. No runs, 2 hits. Is given up 4 walks, struck out 5 against the Yankees. So he's had very good outings against them this season. Jacoby Ellsbury, the leadoff batter, up against him. Ellsbury just a 1 for 12 off T.J. McFarland. Hit by a pitch, 5th inning, stranded. 0 for 2 officially at the plate. He'll chop that one to first base. Davis will go himself. 1 down, 7th inning. Orioles reach, and manager Buck Showalter and his wife Angela are once again joining forces with Kids Peace to host the 6th annual Trick or Trot 5K 1-mile walk, a Halloween-themed race to benefit children in foster care. The Saturday, October 31 race will begin and end at Oriole Park here at Camden Yards. Costumes are encouraged, prizes will be awarded, and you will be doing something very good for the Kids Peace program. Go to Orioles.com/KidsPeace. Pinch hitter is going to be Chris Young.
Yeah, so he wears out lefties, and of course the intention of Joe Girardi match up. Of course, who started the first game.
He is in for Ackley, who had an 0 for 2 and a walk in the ball game. Young up, 1 down, nobody on, 7th inning, ball game tied at 3-3.
Well, 329 hitter, 7 home runs against the lefties.
He will fight that off. The Orioles have the infield shift on against him.
Yeah, he's got 7 other home runs against right-handers, but only hitting 182. So this is high average, and the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark against the lefties, even though T.J. McFarland tries to keep the ball on the ground.
1 for 4 against McFarland lifetime. Wind has died down. Rain has stopped. Quietest we've had it at the ballpark weather-wise for this game, too. 1-1 delivery, tailed away and got him to go after it. Good, great pitch. 1-2.
Well, there's a change-up, and TJ, all year saying that's going to be my pitch of choice next spring. Really work on the change-up, and he got to a point in the season where maybe the velocity was a little bit harder, lost a little bit of sink. Change-up and sinker will really work well for him.
Inside and pulled it foul. Not much else you can do with that pitch if you're young. Count stays 1-2. Chris Young will take that one. It bounces. And a 2-ball, 2-strike count down to the point where the next one may be enough. Here in a 3-3 ball game, each team with the 5 hits. Pitchers have been able to get through some rough spots on both sides in this game. They've had some pretty good scoring chances. Orioles have left only 2 on base. Yankees have left 6. Check swing, just miss. 3-2.
You always talk about hitters when they go up and have good at bats. Pitching, of course, you talk the same thing. You have a good idea of trying to make the pitch, just miss down and away. Was Young one of those guys that loves the ball up, loves it out over the plate.
3-2, and that one he got him on.
Well, there's the changeup, Gary, and it was a good one. You know, the illusion, you got a 2-seamer, the spin is the same coming out of your hand, and the ball just dives down and away. Almost like a screwball. You could see it way back in his hand. And Young, a very good fastball hitter, doesn't get to hit one.
So McFarland gets the first 2 outs here in the 7th inning. That'll bring up Carlos Beltran. Shift stays on in the infield. Really good breaking ball to him for a strike with 2 away. Beltran 0 for 4 against McFarland. .286 against the Orioles this year. Couple of home runs, 10 RBIs against the O's for Beltran. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Wind suddenly picks up, ripping in from center.
Yeah, he got a big home run to right center hitting from the right side in that 4-1 win. Kind of guaranteed the Yankees would go to the postseason. where they'll play that wild card game yet to be determined.
1-1 delivery. McFarland misses down low with it. And a 2-ball 1-strike count. Houston still leading the Diamondbacks in the third inning, 1-0. Yankees trying to take care of it themselves if they can get a win here. That will send that wild card game to Yankee Stadium. 2-1 pitch on the way. Ground ball towards the hole. Manny Machado cuts it off and records the out. And McFarland retires the side in order. 7th inning stretch time in the second game of our doubleheader. And this one to be decided. Tied at 3. Some Maryland State Firemen's Associations. Email mdfirevolunteer@gmail.com to volunteer with your local fire, rescue, and EMS. Back here at Camden Yards, Gary Thorne and Jim Palmer for Ubaldo Jimenez finishes up with a 12-10 mark, 32 starts on the year. Orioles trying to pick up their 18th win in his starts, and he's going to be a main cog in the rotation next year.
Well, 4-year investment, a lot of money. So he certainly, as we mentioned, doubled his wins. And the other part of the, you watch Severino, and of course with Tanaka having the hamstring problem, looks like he's going to be able to pitch. They were saying this youngster may be the guy that would have started that wild card game. You can kind of see why. Very rarely do you get a 21-year-old kid goes to first batter home run and then hasn't walked to anybody. Manny hit a home run, so he stayed in the game. You can see why they have certainly such high expectations for him. He's got an arm.
And in a tight ball game, Girardi, number 1, was forced to pitch him. Had the Yankees won the first game and taken care of business, he wouldn't have pitched. Now he's got to pitch deep because it's a tied ball game. So his availability is going to be somewhat limited if they, wherever they play the wild card.
Yeah, he was going to be the long man in case Tanaka had any kind of problems. And the reports are that he did pitch against the Red Sox, didn't pitch as well as he would like, gave, I think, 3 runs in the first inning. So again, this would have been your guy just in case, so they don't have that. They got some other just in case, maybe not as good as Severino.
All right, we go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. Severino on, no walks, 4 strikeouts in the game. And the pitch will be taken for a strike. Chris Young stays in the ball game. He is playing in left field for the Yankees. Ackley out.
Kind of enhance your defense to a point because Young's a little better defender than Dustin Ackley.
1 ball, 1 strike count. Steve Clevenger leading it off. He is 0 for 2. And the pitch to him is in there for a strike.
Yeah, it's such an easy pitch to give up on. And it's that late little cutter slider. I think it's going to be a ball off the corner, and it's like a changeup.
1-2 deliveries down low.
89-mile-per-hour changeup. And if you're going to miss, he missed exactly where you want to.
Only leadoff man on for the Orioles. Reimold home run first inning. Severino's retired a very high 77% of leadoff batters this year. 2-2 delivery on the way, and Clevenger will be another as he strikes out.
You just can't throw back-to-back changeups. The 1-2-1 misses. This one starts on the plate. And again, the late life. Ball does not hover in the same place. Great movement, great location. And again, you can throw 97.
He's had 9 strikeouts in a ball game this year, is high, and did it against the toughest team to get strikeouts against, the Blue Jays. Pitch down low for a ball. He's got 5 and just rolling along in this one. Picking him up seemingly as he needs them, 1 an inning or so. Joseph 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice. Line drive not hit hard. Gregorius right there, 2 down. Well, the most popular way to follow the action of the Orioles is on MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball. You get replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live look-ins. MLB.com at bat app now. 2 away, nobody on. Ryan Flaherty. Flaherty is grounded out and struck out. 0 for 7 in the doubleheader for Flaherty. And the pitch is in there for a strike. Orioles with a victory in the first game of the doubleheader evened up their mark against the division opponents. 37 and 37 against the East. 0-1 pitch, and that's going to be away. 1 ball, 1 strike count.
Yeah, Ryan at 202, so he's getting down by the Mendoza line. That's why he needs a hit. For the average, for the self-confidence.
And a swing and a miss.
And we're seeing 3 quality pitches from Luis Severino at age 21. Because that changeup as the game has progressed. Struck out Clevenger. That was about as good as you could throw it right there to Ryan Flaherty. Which the book on him is off-speed pitches. And there's another one.
And he got it. So he gets a strikeout. That'll be number 6. Retires the side in order. 7 complete. Ball game tied at 3-3.
Nolan Raimond in the rain leads off the game against Luis Severino with a home run. And Manny Machado, number 35 at the time. It's 3-0. Actually make it 3-1. And here come the Yankees. Pierce can't get the double off Heathcott's bat. And they will eventually come back to tie at 3-3.
And that will be it for Severino as he works 7 innings in the ball game. Now he, like Ubaldo Jimenez, will wait and see whether or not the Yankees can get any runs for him. Betances warming up in the bullpen. Joe Girardi said before the game he really wanted to be sparing in his use of Dylan Betances here this weekend. McFarland, his pitch will be a strike. Brian McCann up against him. McCann hit by a pitch in the second inning, scored. He is flied out in his other 2 at-bats. They shift against him. And a chopper. He tried to pick one up that was down low. 2-strike count. Darren O'Day in the bullpen for the Orioles. 3-3 ball game, and we are in the 8th inning. McCann, a little roller. Plenty of time to make the throw. Caleb Joseph gets him, and there's one away. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Orioles may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. Look, man, no arms.
Well, look at his little brother, I think, or just to his left, our right, smiling, going.
Having a great time.
That's right. That's him, not me.
Houston's entered a run 2-0 over Arizona, 4th inning. Here's Bird, a base hit. He's 1 for 3. Chopper again. This one will come back to him. McFarland, 2 down.
Well, TJ, he comes in against the Blue Jays. And yeah, they didn't have their A lineup after they had clinched the night before. But the sinker and the changeup, he's pitching exactly the way you envision somebody left-handed. Got a nice little breaking ball. Can hold runners. Came through. Orioles picked him up as a Rule 5 guy, starting pitcher at AA and AAA. And don't be surprised with the Orioles looking for starting pitching. He may not be one of them next year.
I think he will be.
Yeah.
Here is Ref Snyder, 276 off lefties. Pitch will be taken. Ref Snyder has had a single, double, 2 for 3 in the ball game, 5-game hit streak. 1-0 count, 2 down. 5 in a row set down by McFarland.
Now this kid's got some power. Kenny Singleton, who broadcast for the Yankees, said he hit one about 450 feet the other day. A well-built young man, not a home run guy, but can hit home runs. And then you get into these counts, and of course you got a lefty on deck. Certainly with 2 outs, tie ball game. You're aware of that if you're TJ McFarland. So you make your pitch either on the quarter or just off.
2-0 delivery, and that'll be on the corner for a strike. 2-1. Jimenez out of the ball game, finished up with an ERA of 4.11. His record 12-10 on the year, so he lowered his ERA from 4.81 to 4.11 last year to this year.
And he would be the first to tell you again that really like 7 or 8 starts right after the All-Star break. I mean, and it was 7 or maybe 3 of those 8 were good and the rest were horrid. And that's where the ERA really jumped, went all the way under 3 to over where it ended up.
That'll go to second base on the hop, played by Flaherty, and another good inning, 6 in a row, set down by McFarland. Bottom half of the 8th inning, Orioles and Yankees are tied at 3.
Off the game, Manny Machado with his 35th. Boy, a lot of strikes compared to balls. Pitches well, maybe not as many fastballs, a few more cutters, sliders. So he will not win. Betances comes in out of New York, 6'8" left right-hander, and he can really pitch. So again, it's time for a little relief for your car too. Visit Jiffy Lube for regular oil changes that help prevent damage and wear to your engine. Jiffy Lube. Drive in today. And that fastball could reach close to 199, and then curveball comes out of nowhere because of the height. Very effective. Leads the American League relievers, actually all major league relievers, with strikeouts, 128. Last year he struck out 135.
So Dylan Betances on, 28-year-old right-hander who has had a ton of work for the Yankees this season. He appeared against Boston Thursday, tossed a 1-2-3 inning. That was his last outing. He's not given up an earned run in the last 38 road games that he has pitched in. Paul Janisch will face him for the first time in his career. Then it will be Reimold and Parra due up against Betances. Betances certainly will not work more than an inning. He's had a lot of ball games where he has worked more.
No, I didn't. But this is his 74th appearance.
And a little looper that should fall in, and does. Base hit for Janisch, just out of the reach. Ref Snyder went diving for it. It'll be a single to lead off the bottom of the 8th.
So bad hop double, and now the looper. Great effort by Rob Ref Snyder. Boy, shifted up the middle, otherwise he probably catches it. Well, let's see if the Orioles play small ball here.
Reimold coming up. Headley moves in at third. Reimold a home run, 1 for 3. Yankees. Now Headley will be backed up at third base. Reimold does not show bunt and will take a strike. Orioles getting Zach Britton, their closer, ready in the bullpen. Betances leads the majors in innings pitched, 83. And guess who's number 2? Brad Brock. 0-1 pitch, swung on and missed.
And you can see that it's affected Brad Brock. I mean, his command not as good. I'm not watching Betances. Had a chance to watch him earlier in the week, and then, as you mentioned, pitched the other day. And again, his sky hook, that curveball, and again the ability to throw close to 100 miles per hour, are very effective. And there's the hook,
and it gets away. Wild pitch, and advancing to second base is Janisch.
Yeah, now you want to throw it down in the zone with 2 strikes. You know Reimold's already homered, so you try to keep it under the strike zone, and then you bounce it, and you're just hoping your catcher. I mean, McCann does about everything you can except the ball hits him, and then a very aggressive base running, exactly the way you practice it.
Here's a chance for the Orioles to get the potential game-winning run in. Orioles with the 0 for 3. Yankees with the 2 for 7.
Well,
and a look back.
It appears you're going to get 3 shots to do that.
Yep.
You know, any kind of line drive, with, of course, with nobody out, you got to make sure it clears the infielders.
1-2 delivery by Betances, and went away and got him.
Well, we told you, leading all major league relievers in strikeouts, and over 13 per 9 innings, and that's why. Again, overpowering fastball, 6-8. Probably feels like it stepping right at you, and then throws the perfect curveball down on the way to Nolan Reimold.
Here is Parra, RBI chance, base hit, 1 for 3 in the ball game. Betances, the 82-mile-an-hour pitch, Parra out in front of it.
There's about a 17-mile-per-hour difference, maybe 15 to 17 miles per hour on his fastball and curveball.
Orioles have not scored a run against Betances in 9 games, 10 1/3 innings. No runs, 4 hits, 6 walks, and 15 strikeouts by Betances against the Orioles. Parra, 0-1 count, 1 down. And it'll be away.
Well, there's 97, and then you got Andrew Miller, the closer. He's got 25 strikeouts in his last 12 1/3 innings. So very much like Kansas City, tie ball games, leads, difficult to score against these two guys.
Bunting down to third. It's a beauty. No play. Infield hit for Parra, and he moves Giannis over to third base with one out.
Well, that's the way you play it here. Tie ball game. You take what they give you. You know, the ability to do it. You talked about it. Parra early on here proved he could bunt. And again, Headley, smart play because doesn't want to throw it away. Looks where he's playing. Now you can see him. Great shot right here. He's moving in. It's, you know, they don't have to be a perfect bunt, and it isn't, but it certainly works.
He had plenty of room. Headley moved over. Now Manny Machado, 35th home run, came in the third inning. He has struck out twice. The infield moves in with one away. The pitch to Manny, and that will be taken for a strike. Manny is 1 for 6 off Betances. Orioles, bottom of the 8th inning, trying to get the lead. And a swing and a miss, 82. He was looking heat, 0-2.
Now, even when he hangs it, and that ball was up a little bit, the break is sharp enough that even a guy red hot as Manny swings right through it.
Here's the 0-2 delivery. Machado takes. It's outside. Good stop made. McCann. And a 1-ball, 2-strike count.
Because you know what it takes. I mean, anything out of the infield of any depth. Giannis with pretty good speed, not blazing speed at third. Ellsbury doesn't throw well in center. Young a little bit better arm. Really don't know Heathcote's arm in right.
1-2 delivery outside, and a run will score off the glove of McCann, and the Orioles have the lead. Paul Giannis scores, and the Orioles are up 4-3. So the Orioles take advantage of this one. He tugged on it.
Yeah, more than that. I mean, just dead pulls it across the plate. McCann up and in, can't get it. And there's the 4th run for the Orioles. 1-run lead here in the bottom of the 8th.
Charged as a wild pitch outside to Machado, and the count goes to 3-2. Runner down at second base is Parra. So Betances with a wild pitch that gives the Orioles the lead in the ball game. 3-ball, 2-strike count. Runner goes. Swing and a foul tip. Nope, struck him out. So the play's got to be made. Recording the out. Already down to third base was Parra. So McCann had to be careful about that. When he threw down, he already had Parra standing at third. Had to make sure he wasn't coming around trying to score. He does not.
Yeah, he didn't even hesitate.
2 strikeouts for Betances. More importantly, though, the Orioles get the run, and they have a runner at third.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pitch to Davis. With McCann looking in, Girardi gives him the 4 fingers, and they're going to intentionally walk him. Well, you got to really be heads up here, because I don't care how many times you do this, it's awkward. You know, the intentional walk seems like it's so easy. So get your lead, and just in case.
Betances, this will be the first walk the Orioles have picked up in the game. Steve Pearce, the on-deck batter. And how important this game is to the Yankees, evidenced by the fact Betances is pitching. Joe Girardi really did not want to use him, not even in the weekend. He wanted to rest him, and he does not want to use Andrew Miller, the closer, or Justin Wilson any more than an inning this weekend, he said. But he's being forced to, because Houston's leading, the Orioles are leading, and the home field for the wild card is at stake. And they need a win to get it done. So their bullpen will stay active. Caleb Cotham in the bullpen.
Yeah, and the Orioles are really forcing this. I mean, they're forcing the issue because they only gave up a couple of runs in the first game. And then Jimenez was able to pitch out of trouble and keep it at 3.
And Pierce on a check swing. They'll check, and he did go around. Mark Wagner down at first base on the called strike.
Well, you know, the great thing, if you've been around like I have, is that in the old days, if they called a check swing against the Orioles, it wouldn't have mattered. Now it does. Fans are really into it.
Pierce 0 for 2 against Betances, and the only time he's seen him. 0-1 count. First and third. Runner goes to second. Ball will be fouled back. So Davis will come back to first. Max Scherzer has done it again. He has pitched a no-hitter, second this season.
Look at that.
17 strikeouts for Scherzer against the Mets.
And no walks.
So congratulations to Max Scherzer, and no-hit performance in that one with the 17 strikeouts.
That's a lot of zeros between 9 and 17, isn't it?
Ooh. Nice stop made on that one by McCann. He only threw 109 pitches in that no-hitter. Wow. He is the first pitcher since Nolan Ryan back in '73 to have 2 no-hitters in the same season. 1-2 pitch on the way. Check swing. Did he go? Home plate umpire makes the call. Pierce can't believe it. He is out of there. The Orioles, though, will get a run on 2 hits. Now they've got a chance to win it. Britton will come on for the save.
Ready. What a marvelous job. Kind of the closer by default. Tommy Hunter struggled last year. Never looked back. Sinker ball deluxe. About 90% of the balls hit on the ground. 90% of the pitches he throws is the sinker. There you go. A lot of fastballs. Why not? 94 to 97 or 8. Again, very, very difficult to elevate the ball. ERA under 2 runs a game. There he is, 35 out of 39. Doesn't walk a whole lot of guys. Strikes out more than 1 innings. And then lefties really scuffle against him.
3 outs, and the Orioles will have a sweep of the doubleheader. Last time the Orioles swept the Yankees in a doubleheader was last September. 2-1 in 11, 5-0 in game 2. David Lowe's come on to play in center field. And the Yankees bat here in the top of the 9th inning. Didi Gregorius leading it off. Gregorius, it's 7, 8, 9 in the lineup.
And there's Alex Rodriguez, who's come out. So they're looking for a base runner.
Pitch is taken on the inside corner for a strike. Britton in 8 games against the Yankees, 5 for 5 in save opportunities. He has given up no runs and only 2 hits. in 7 2/3 innings against the Yankees this year. Gregorius check swing on around. Home plate umpire with a call. And it goes to 1-2.
Really good slider. Now, Votto's not going to get the win, but he certainly pitched himself out of trouble in the 6th and in the 5th. And keep it at 3 runs.
1-2 pitch, little chopper to second base. Flaherty has got it. 1 down. Whoa. Almost threw it away. Rimo coming. Our Lexus of Towson drive of the game.
Well, in the raindrops, Orioles again runs hard to come off of Luis Severino. So Nolan starts it with a home run. Manny hits his 35th. And here comes Alex.
Lexus of Towson drive of the game. Area's #1 volume Lexus dealer 5 years running. See why at LexusofTowson.com. So Rodriguez will be the pinch hitter for Heathcott. Rodriguez had an 0 for 4 in the first game of the doubleheader. He is 5 for 13 off Britton. 1 down. And the fastball is in there for a strike to A-Rod. 35,198 the announced attendance. 35,198. Not that many here, but that many tickets were sold. 0-1 count. Britton will miss inside to him. 1-1.
You know, Zach makes his living sinking the ball, and Alex Rodriguez, as you look at the numbers there here at Camden Yards, makes his living up in the zone. And he wants a ball that he doesn't need to elevate. It's already elevated, and Zach wants him either to swing through it or hit a grounder.
1-1 delivery to him. A-Rod over it. Rodriguez has hit only .211 against the Orioles this year. However, he does have 6 home runs and 11 RBIs against the Orioles. 9th inning, the Orioles trying to wrap up a doubleheader win. They won the opener this afternoon 9-2, and they lead this one 4-3. Britton's 1-2 delivery in the dirt.
Yeah, Alex, struggled in August. He only hit 153 with a couple home runs. The average dropping in the month of September at .230, but he did hit 7 home runs. So those are the numbers you could see pretty much middle of the plate. And it really starts from about the top of the thighs to above the base, the belt. And that's where he's made his living with 687 home runs lifetime. And again, power to all fields.
2 ball, 2 strike count. Britton's delivery to him. A-Rod will take it inside. So a full count 3-2. Chase Headley is in the number 9 spot. He's on deck.
Yeah, Zach loves to start that sinker at the front hip of a right-handed hitter. And that time he pulled it inside.
Full count delivery to Rodriguez. Ground ball to the hole, base hit. So Rodriguez delivers a pinch hit single, putting the potential tying run on here in the 9th inning. We will get a pinch runner for A-Rod. Get a little speed on the base paths for the Yankees. It'll be Rico Noel who will run for him.
Again, as you mentioned, did get his first major league hit in the first game of this doubleheader, and then he could steal some bases. 5 for 5. Pretty much been used as a pinch runner since he got called up from the minors.
Rodriguez the single, 1 out. Headley struck out, the only at bat he's had in the game. He is 0 for 5 off Britton. Noel will step off a decent lead. And Britton will throw over to get him back. Scooped up by Davis. Yankees getting their 6th hit of the game. Caleb Joseph looking over to the dugout for whether they want to throw over or step off or long hold here. Half step increase in the lead. They got him. Davis throws and he is out. It'll be a caught stealing, but it's Zach Britton on the pickoff and a fine throw by Chris Davis.
Well, how about the tag by Flaherty? I tell you, hold the ball. What happens? You get a young runner. Sometimes he gives himself away. So look at that tag and reach back. And it looked like he tagged him in the face. I mean, he steps right in front of Giannis and then tags him up on the left arm. Wow.
So now there are 2 down and the bases are empty. Headley at the plate. And a little chopper. Zach Britton and the Orioles have swept the doubleheader from the Yankees and prevented the Yankees from guaranteeing themselves home field advantage for the wild card as they come away with a 4-3 win. No runs won yet, no errors, and nobody left on base. And what a day for the Orioles. 9-2 in game 1 and 4-3 in game 2. There's your final line. We'll wrap it up on a doubleheader victory day for the Orioles.